Hey everyone, Miss Dempsey here. This is guide for round 5 of the manufacturer series again. Let's get this started. Your first braking point is going to be the 50-meter mark. You brake hard for a moment, slowly ease off of the brakes, and then patiently get back on the throttle. You want to try to avoid making any contact with the walls so you don't end up significantly slowing yourself down. Then right after you pass the 150-meter mark, you'll brake as much as you can for a short moment, slowly start to ease off of the brakes and turn in at the 50-meter mark. Just be very patient with your throttle input, just trying to hit each of the apexes in this little docks area. Right after you pass the 50-meter mark, you want to use just a little bit of braking, just try to bring yourself really close to the wall on the right, and then carefully get back on the throttle. Then just smoothly make your way through these turns, just trying to go as fast as you can. And then you'll eventually want to bring yourself to the left, and then brake right as you reach the 150-meter mark. You'll brake as much as you can for a short while, then slowly start to ease off of the brakes, get as close as you can to the inside part of the turn without hitting the curbs, and then slowly start to accelerate your way out. The 50-meter sign will be your turning point, and you just want to ease off of the throttle and then do some more throttle control, so just ease off of the throttle as you go through the S's. Bring yourself to the right side of the track, and right after you pass the 50-meter mark, you will apply a very quick burst of braking. So then you'll bring yourself all the way to the inside of the turn, carefully get back on the throttle, and just bring yourself to the left side of the track, and that is pretty much it for the stop guide. Let's go ahead and quickly talk about the strategies. For the qualifying session, you have 6 minutes to try to get a good qualifying time. What is interesting is that for this track, the pit area or the pit stop area is well before the start finish line, so the moment that you cross the start finish line, you're starting your qualifying laps immediately. So what you want to do is try to space yourself out between yourself and those around you as soon as you can, and you want to try to do it quickly because there's not much time to try to do that before you start your flying laps. Slipstream is going to play a big role in trying to get the best qualifying time, so once again, if you space yourself out and stay within that 1.5 second gap range, then you should be able to get some pretty good qualifying times under your belt. And I really want to emphasize spacing yourself out because it's going to be a little easy to end up getting a little bit too close to whoever is in front of you. And if you get too close, you're going to have to slow yourself down so you don't end up bumping into them, which will end up hurting your own qualifying time. And because Slipstream is still pretty strong, you want to brake a little bit earlier than usual, just so you don't end up over braking it if you brake at the normal braking point, and you don't end up making yourself look silly. And if you happen to make a mistake and someone is fast approaching behind you, just let them through. Don't interrupt their qualifying time because first of all, that is not cool and they won't be happy about you for that, and that could potentially hurt your own overall time that you have left to try to get a good qualifying time. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this qualifying strategy. Just make sure you space yourself out, try to get that slipstream, and you'll have 3 chances to try to get that good qualifying time. For the race strategy, racing medium tires are required to be used in this race, so make sure that you have them on at some point in the race so you don't end up getting a 1-minute penalty. This is a fuel saving race, so you do want to try to spend that first stint trying to save as much fuel as possible. So some things that you can do to try to save fuel is to short shift, and in my case, I'm usually shifting when the bar on the bottom of the screen is around 75% full. And one other big way to save fuel is to catch the slipstream from the car ahead of you. If you happen to be going much faster than the car ahead of you and don't want to try to overtake them, you can shift even earlier just to try to reduce that acceleration of your own car. And you can also adjust the fuel mapping so you can stretch out that fuel life a little bit further. So once you complete that first stint, you will have to refuel, change on over to a new set of tires, racing medium tires if you haven't used them yet. And that second stint is where the pace of the race is going to pick up a bit more if it hasn't done so yet. So because the pace is going to be a little bit slow on the first stint, you can actually start on racing medium tires if you like. That way, when things start to pick up a little bit more on that second stint, you can switch on over to the racing soft tires. That way, you'll have a better chance to stay with the pace and just try to keep up with those around you, or even just overtake them outright. 1 Wheel Leader Racing does mention this in his latest strategy guides video, so check him out if you haven't yet, as he does some really good guides on these races as well. So I'm going to quickly show you the importance of fuel saving. So the first car that went to the pit stops ahead of me was about 2 seconds ahead, and they had only 5% fuel left. I had 14% fuel left because I was fuel saving along the race, so therefore I'm going to need less fuel to try to finish the race, and I'm going to actually end up catching up to the car ahead of me. So once again, I just want to stress the importance of fuel saving in this race. I was able to make the fuel last 9 laps through the use of short shifting, slipstream, and the fuel mapping. Depending on the car you're using and the way that you drive it in this race, you might need to have to refuel as early as lap 7 or as late as lap 9, or even further than that if your car is really good on its fuel economy. But that's pretty much it for this guide. Just once again, make sure you fuel save throughout this race so you can try to make that fuel last as long as it can. But I'm going to go ahead and sign off now. So this is Mr. MCA wishing you a good race, and I'll see you in the next video.